This shot from my apartment shows a common Argentinian grilling or asado setup. There's a brick shelf oven with a brick enclosure like you see here. While there are a lot of tools or different tools that one can use, I'm using the two most basic. A brasero on one side and the parrilla on the other. The brasero is where you burn down wood and or charcoal to embers which are then maneuvered under the parrilla in different configurations depending on which meat and which cut is used. So in the 2 months that I was there in Argentina, I didn't even scratch the surface of what's possible with this simple setup. And as much fun as it was exploring the different meats and cuts and whatnot available at amazing Argentinian butchers, the high point of this trip was joining a family of asado masters as they celebrated a birthday in the most Argentinian way possible by cooking an entire cow. Here's how it's done. There are 3 levels on this apparatus. The first level is like how the embers are placed under the parrilla in the setup at my apartment. The difference is that this isn't what's really cooking the meat. Coals are distributed mainly around the edge of the apparatus with a very light sprinkling directly under the cow. It's basically to maintain a certain level of heat in the area around the cow. The second layer is the cow. You'll see aluminum foil covering it in some of the videos. This was done to keep ash from falling on the meat from above, but it was removed halfway through as it was determined that it blocked the radiant heat that was coming from above. Third layer is the fire, resting on 2 panels of sheet metal. The head and tail ends of the panel have a stronger fire broadly covering both sides with a few logs and coals down the center. Coals were harvested from above and distributed underneath as needed over the course of the cook. So the cow, about 350 pounds when it was slaughtered the day before at a small farm nearby. The hide was removed from the legs in the front, but not from the back. We took it to the house on the back of a pickup truck. When we got there, we used a saw to cut the breastbone and butterfly it like a chicken. Then we laid it on a tarp and let it cool with bags of ice for about 12 hours. Now, with the cow sorted, it was time for the first asado, the offal. The organs, the sweetmeats. I'm not going to lie, this was a culinary high point for me. Grilled to perfection just hours after harvest, shared amongst a few lucky family members and me on a common wooden platter. There were tastes and textures I had never eaten before. It was brilliant. After a quick nap that night, we reconvened at 3 a.m. to start drinking Fernet and Coke and, start the fire. The apparatus was set up. We carried the cow, about 6 of us, and placed it on the metal frame. Then the top layer was hammered into place. The thigh and shoulder areas were cut deeply with a pound of fine salt, sprinkled all over the top with a few sprigs of rosemary and some garlic. So from 4 a.m. when this was started to when it was done, it was really just singing, drinking, laughing, talking, and a rotation where someone would take the lead on adding logs and moving coals from the top to the bottom layer as needed. At 11:30 the next morning, there was the first check where the ashes were carefully moved from the top and the rib meat was tasted. No video of me tasting it, thankfully, because I do remember hopping around like a madman, yelling in English that it was the greatest piece of beef I've ever tasted in my life. And, that I'd been to the top of the mountain and it was all downhill from here, etc., etc. I had been drinking and my host fortunately took it in stride. It was determined that 2 more hours were needed, so the top sheets were replaced and the fire built back up. When it was finally done, large pieces were moved to a serving table where it was spread among platters and served out to 75 people thereabouts, with still an immense amount left over the next day.